A self-proclaimed serial entrepreneur, he founded his first agency, Entity Global, when he was just 24 years old. Despite no formal training, his company grew to work with major brands including Adidas, Red Bull, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and more. He has directed myriad immersive experiences, large-scale installations, and live music performances. He has collaborated with some of this generation's greatest creators, including the Tupac Shakur estate, Bill Gates, Miss Lauryn Hill, Kendrick Lamar, and Lady Gaga. Recently, he and his firm led the creative direction and build of the critically acclaimed museum exhibition Tupac Shakur, Wake Me When I'm Free. Please join me and the artist and award-winning creative director, Jeremy Hodges, in the arena right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Jeremy Hodges, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Thank you for
Doing good.
joining me in the arena tonight.
No, first off, thank you for sharing your platform. I appreciate that.
It's part, you know what, it's part of the privilege. So thank you for that. Let's jump in. Let's start at the beginning.
Let's do it.
When and where were you born, sir?
So I was born in a small town about an hour and a half from Chicago, west, called Freeport, Illinois.
Okay.
Middle of the cornfields. So my optimism and my dreams came from living in such a small place because I had the dream that I can get out of there.
Wow.
And so, but the other thing that I learned was the love for everyone around you and being able to speak and be in such a small knit community. We all played together, we all hung out together, and so that kind of diversity and love and inclusion was already kind of built in as growing up.
Okay. Tell me about the man and the woman who either created and or raised you.
Oh man, I don't know if we have enough time.
Let's try.
Let's try it though. My mom is probably one of the most compassionate people I've ever met.
What's her name?
Her name is was Rosemary
Okay.
Hodges. She passed away when I was 19. But through those years, those short years that I had with her, I learned a value that I could never get rid of love, compassion. And she would basically put her heart on the line for anything, come into a room and light it up with her smile. And so, and then my father, James Hodges, was the ultimate hunter and gatherer. He had 5 kids, and he went out and worked tirelessly at a factory and came back and provided. So even though we were poor, we never knew we were. We never felt it because of the love that was provided in the house. And then, like I said, he was the ultimate, let me go and make sure I provide. And so I take those values with me as I go on my journey.
Love that. How many siblings?
I have 3 sisters and 1 brother.
Where are you at in this?
I'm the youngest. Yeah, I'm the youngest. So I had to learn from all of them, right? And growing up,
And what's the gap between you and the next?
about 10 years.
Oh.
So it's a big gap, and they are my half sister siblings.
Okay.
But in that, it never really felt as if we were half. It felt like a full family.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, it kind of I grew up almost a single child because of that gap.
Sure.
They grew up a lot faster than I. So, yeah.
So the relationship growing up was the distance. What is the relationship with you and your siblings now?
Now it's a little complicated, but we're still close. If anything happens or if anyone needs anything, we are there in a heartbeat. I think the passing of my mom kind of tarnished a little bit of everyone's dealing with grief in their own way, and so it's a conversation that we are all still speaking and talking, but you know, it's not as close as we probably should be.
Got it. How early on, if you can recall an age that you know, look, my community is utopic in a lot of ways, it's great, but there is more that I've not even seen yet, but I just feel it. What age do you
Oh man,
remember?
I would say probably about 13.
Okay.
When I started watching just the TV shows and movies and getting exposed to more adult videos and so forth. I lived through MTV. I lived through BET. I dreamed to be, Diddy someday and be the executive behind the scene. And you didn't really know how that was going to happen when you come from Freeport. The one grace that I do know is when I found out, this was about 13, I found out that Robert Johnson, the founder of BET, was from Freeport.
Oh, wow.
And so knowing that he was able to do it gave me another little push of, wait, it's possible.
Representation really matters.
Representation matters.
To see it.
And so I took that and just kept dreaming and hoping that it comes true someday and manifest it.
And where'd you go to college?
I went to NIU. And so when I went to NIU, it got even further because I remember the first weekend on campus, I went to an event and I just saw the mastery of someone curating an event and bringing the campus together. And I said,
and you noticed that.
And this is what I want to do. I was like, I don't know what this is, but there's something special here that sparked me. So I remember that was a Friday night. Saturday and Sunday, I went back to my dorm, sat in the desk, and just started mapping out my plan to become the big promoter on campus. And then the next year, that's what I did. I came back and we started throwing the events, and they grew and grew, expanded to the city of Chicago, and then the rest is kind of history.
So that gives me two questions.
Yes.
Did your older siblings, attend college?
Yes, my one of my sisters went to NIU, but they all went to the military, and so that was the grace from that. My other sister went to Chicago State, and she also taught at Chicago State.
Oh wow! And Chicago State is near and dear to my heart.
and so that was it basically. Okay. Those two, my oldest two sisters.
Were you ever, through your older sisters, ever on a college campus during their times as students, or was this your first experience on the college campus as a first-year student?
I was kind of lucky because I played football. And so playing football, I was able to go to a lot of tours of campuses and colleges and just see campus life. And that was really my exposure. Now, I did stay on campus with my sister, Belinda, who went to NIU. Okay. But we never went out and hung out and that. She lived in an apartment. I stayed there, and she went to camp school. So I never got really exposed to the campus life. But being able to, on the football journey and seeing like what campuses look like, what are kids doing, and I'm like, I gotta have this in my life somehow. And so football was that outlet for me.
So were you at NIU specifically a better student than promoter?
That's a good question.
You know how
that's a good question. So that leads to, it's a little bit deep, right? So I was a good student, but I wasn't focused on school. Especially after my mom passed when I was 19.
And when did you start? So that's right at a very crucial time.
Yes, you started school when I was 18, and a year later my mom passed. And so my focus was a little jarred because I never really mourned, and I didn't know what I was doing on campus. And then I remember being in one of my law schools, because I was going for pre-law and to be a lawyer. And one of my professors came to me. I'm in the back of my class and I'm selling tickets to a concert I'm doing. And she came to me and said, "Hey, dude, can you mind talking and staying after class?" And I'm like, "Oh no." But luckily, this is the most, I took it as an offense when she first said it. But she mentioned, I just want to know if this is something you truly want to do in life. I'm not sure if you want to be a lawyer, because I see around the campus the buzz, and I see your flyers, and I see people coming looking for you.
This was your professor?
This is my professor. And from that, I took it as oh man, she disrespected me. But now that I got older, it's I appreciate those words, because that drove me to where I'm at now. And then the second part is that made me want to leave school and go go after my dreams and passions. And so I did. Started promoting had an opportunity to do some promotion for Jill Scott, and said,
Tilly
"Hey,
from Philly.
This is what it is." And I was lucky my dad was supportive, because I think he could have easily crushed that dream of saying "Oh, you got to go back to school and you got to finish up." And for him to say, go follow your dreams, was just all the weight was lifted, and I knew I had support. And so from there, I was like, my wings can fly.
Oh, wow, wow. Speaking of wings flying and fearlessness, at 24, you launched your first company, Entity Global. I want to know, and I think we're already hearing it, patterns get set. You can always see them. But just take us, the viewers, when you woke up and said, I'm going to do this, have no idea. And as I said in the open, despite having no experience, you had great success and continue to now with experience and all of that. What was in your mind when you went, I'm gonna do it?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, when I met my wife, I was 21, and I had told her I'm gonna take over the world someday, right out the gate. And she used to always call me, you're like Pinky in the Brain. You're always thinking you're gonna take over the world. So I always
This is Helen we're talking about.
This is Helen,
okay.
Correct. So I always had these big aspirations of knowing that I can manifest it myself with my energy and my power. And that was kind of like my superpower, is how I look at it. And then from there, I just woke up and knew that I had no choice, and I didn't really have a fallback plan, right? I didn't have the degree. I had a kid on the way. Well, I actually had a kid at that time. And I knew I had to hustle and go do it and provide, because my dad provided for me. And so that example said I got to be an ultimate hunter and gatherer. And so anything that was necessary. And that wasn't always smooth.
Sure.
I mean, I worked security at nights, came home, and went and did my business in all my business meetings. And some of the meetings, I would take my infant son with me, and I would be, sitting in meetings in boardrooms with Red Bull with a baby next to me. Some people liked it. Some people were like, I love his ambition. The people that love that ambition are the ones that are why I'm here today. And from there, every time I felt like giving up, I knew I always get like a little bit of inspiration of like, oh no, just like a little shot in the arm of like, oh, we can do this.
I call that cover and confirmation.
Yes. And so I knew that I was on the right path, and I knew that I could make it happen. I just had to keep going.
And Helen believed in you as much as your dad did?
She believed in me more than I probably believed in myself. And having that support system of my father, there was never one opportunity that she felt like she was scared around me, which could have easily happened.
Absolutely.
Of like,
sure.
Bills got to be paid.
Yes.
We've
got children.
We got children.
We're
to worry
adulting.
About. And she never said give up or go get a job. It was always go get it. Like, I believe in you. And she held it down and made sure that when things got rough financially, she would pick up the slack.
Come on.
And so like it was the ultimate team journey through where we are now. And so 17 years later in marriage, and we're still going because we're the ultimate team.
And it's you, Helen, and your 4 children.
Correct.
Doing it.
Doing it.
Your tribe, your posse, doing it.
Yep.
Let's move on to one of your other successful ventures, Project Art Collective.
Correct.
What is Project Art Collective, sir?
Yeah, so Project Art Collective is a multidisciplinary creative studio. And the reason I call it that is I learned from previous years and mistakes of calling a company an agency of how you can get pigeonholed. And being a black man, you can get pigeonholed even worse. And the reason being is because sometimes when you go as a black company or a black man, there's only black budgets that they can allocate. And so now you have to
what do they call those? Multicultural budgets?
Multicultural budgets.
Yes.
And they want you to be scrappy when you get those.
Yes.
And so
I've seen the multicultural versus the general market budgets.
100%.
Oh.
There's a big difference, right?
Oh, gargantuan. But go on, sir.
And so I knew that I had to kind of outsmart the system of how do we make everyone feel comfortable with what we do and what we can produce, and know that we can execute at a high level that any of these general market agencies were, but understanding that culture that I come from is what's driving pop culture and the general market anyway.
Absolutely.
And so let's utilize
Isn't that ironic?
Isn't it ironic, right?
Yeah.
So let's utilize those cultural insights to reach mass appeal and show respect to the world. And so that's why I created Project Art, to open up the aperture of what we can go after and what we can create, and we're not limited to ourselves. And so that's why we work, from everyone from the Tupac Museum to Bill Gates with climate control, to working with Lady Gaga on tours, and Kendrick Lamar on holiday toy drives. And so it helped break down those barriers that you normally run into when you have a typical agency model.
Yes, understood. And then just last month, because why not?
Yeah.
You and Helen have been at this.
Right.
You launched, and your shirt says it, and in a dream I would get one of those T-shirts, but I'm not asking for anything. It's not a quid pro quo.
We'll make sure you take care of it.
Well, I'm not asking, but that's a great shirt. And I love when I saw the name in all bold. You're going to tell us about the new initiative, but just Lovemore, whatever that is, I want that. So talk about what Lovemore is, because you're more, and I think we said it in the opening, it would be unfair and probably underwhelming to say you're just an artist, or to say you are a serial entrepreneur, or to say you are a creative director. There is a feeling, and I suspect that Lovemore is your fuller actualization. This feels 360, and it feels like a verb. It feels active. Is that what I was supposed to get from Lovemore? And then tell us more about the company.
You summed it up perfectly. It's the ultimate purpose-driven experience that I've created. And what I mean by that is Lovemore, this world is divided like none before. And what really made me kind of trigger was when we went through this past pandemic, you really saw how people were divided on a whole nother level by just
so much just beneath the surface.
Yeah, by just like wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't care about my well-being because you wanted to be selfish. And so I'm like, how can we remind people to be a little bit more empathetic and a little bit more compassionate? But on top of it, I was like, I didn't want to start a nonprofit. I don't think I'll be good at starting a nonprofit. But I knew that there were a ton of nonprofits that were out here doing what they were supposed to do at a high level, but they were having trouble with marketing and funding, et cetera. And so I was like, well, why don't I use my expertise, help generate some funds, help generate awareness for what they're doing, and make partnerships with these companies. And so that's one part, is that we sell these goods to generate money and income to help partner and fund these nonprofits and these organizations that are in the streets, changing the world and making it a more equitable society. And then I want to share the message of love and empathy and compassion. So when you do see it, it's a reminder to, one, put a smile on your face to love yourself and remind that you are loved. But two, that you should also think about others as you're walking by and passing by. And then hopefully, the goal is to manifest this into where everywhere you go, you see someone or some form of Lovemore, whether it's a large public art display, whether it's a print on someone's wall, or if it's a t-shirt that someone's wearing, to spread that message and kind of build the society and be the anti-hate campaign. And I'm trying to get rid of all the phobias and all the isms, racism, sexism, fatopia, transphobia, homophobia. I want to get rid of it all. It doesn't make sense when people are hurting and people are dying, and when we could really realize that love is the strongest thing that brings us all together.
And you nail it so clearly that in this dash moment, there's no neutral. And that you are being so anti-neutral, that you are not just trying to be a good person, but to activate the good in all of us. Like, those things for me are powerful, and I want to be around people, and I know as we're all looking for meaning and connection again, and that's what excites me so much about your work and talking to you. You just are that person. And I want to go back to your 4 children. What are the ages?
19, 13, 11, and 8.
Ooh, okay. All right, Helen. All right. What is your biggest hope for your children, and what is your biggest fear?
I have 2. One, I hope they have a leg up on society to where they can have a head start to dream and change the world themselves in their own way. I think a lot of times coming from a multicultural or a black household, you don't necessarily get the opportunities that others get. And so I want to be able to open that up to where it is an equal playing field. And create a little generational wealth from as I do it, so they can have an opportunity.
Sure.
Two, I really want this message to spread to a point where they can latch on and take it to the next level of love and compassion and empathy. I learned a lot from them. I learned from seeing them at school. None of the stuff that we worry about as adults, they don't worry about. It's learned.
Yeah.
And so if we can start breaking those walls down for them now, it's an opportunity for them to thrive and create the human race to thrive even further and bigger. Now we've, as black people, have been through it. People, there's a lot of hatred for a lot of different communities in this world, but I think the youth can change us. And I'm building this for 20 years from now, and not for me, for not now. I'm not gonna be able to reap all the benefits or anything from this one. I'm not looking to reap benefits from this. I'm really looking at this as being a tool for my kids and the kids around it to latch on and then take it to a whole nother flight of what Lovemore means and what love can be for a society.
Brother, we're not quite done yet. We have one more segment, but I knew I needed this conversation today. I don't believe in luck and happenstance, so thank you for what you're doing. We are so happy to be able to share this time, but you and I aren't done yet. We've got one final segment called 3 for the Road. Stay with us, Chicago and Beyond. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I'm Mugabalta, host of the program 3 Questions With. Racial, ethnic, and gender diversity is a recent development in the history of theater, leading the Foundation's mission to increase Latino representation in Chicago theater is Jorge Valdivia.
There are amazing stories being written here in the Chicagoland area by Latino, Latina, Latine playwrights.
Join us on Wednesdays at 7:30 in the evening via Channel 19, streaming on cantv.org and the Can TV Plus app.
Jeremy, we're back.
Awesome.
Okay, listen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the show, but I'm going to explain it to you just in case.
Yep.
This is our segment called 3 for the Road. Okay. It seems simple.
Okay.
But I cannot tell you how many of our wonderful guests, somehow it trips. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Got it.
You're going to give me 3 answers.
Perfect.
I might ask a 4th, but let's focus on the 3, okay?
All right.
You ready?
Got it. I'm here.
First question. If you could have dinner with any person, living or dead, who would you choose and why?
I would choose Obama. He is such an inspiration to me, my children, and to so many that I think I could learn how to, one, be a better community activist and leader, and being able to just be able and absorb. I'm a really big energy person, and his energy feels so on point of change and it, it got muddled with the politics, but like as a human being, you could tell that he is truly someone that cared, and I would just want to learn and absorb from him.
Good first answer. Yeah. Okay. All right. I see you. Second question. Do you have any regrets?
Man, I gotta say, I don't, because my regrets have become lessons that have made me successful into what I am today. I'm not saying that I always made the right decisions. Sure. I didn't say I was always chasing the right things. Money was, sometimes money became the thing that you focused on.
Understood.
But those lessons of falling down and seeing those, I feel. So I can't take them as regrets. I just take them as life lessons that I am appreciative of.
2 for 2.
Here we go.
Come on, let's do it. Here we go. Third question. One piece of advice present day Jeremy would have given to his 21-year-old self.
Keep believing. Don't give up on that dream. I think I was on the right path, and I think having another person in my ear to just be inspiration would have just set me off on a whole nother path and kept going. I think that's a lack of just the community of when you grow up and you don't have someone rooting for you or saying that you could do it, just believe, and it'll manifest. There's a power in manifesting when you have it in your mind that you can get it and that you are special. And I would have just really been cheering on the sideline saying that to myself.
Wow. Okay, we're going on. Define success. What does success for you look like?
Success for me, one, is it starts with my family, for sure. To make sure my family is, one, safe and provided for. Two, making sure my family has an opportunity. I'm a real big believer I can't help anyone else unless I make sure that I'm sturdy and have a strong foundation. And then three is community. I want to make sure people around me can have the same benefits that I have and that my kids have had.
That's what success looks like for you.
Correct.
Wow. I have a final question. I know we're up to 5 now.
Yeah.
Your mom.
Yeah.
What is she saying right now from her perch watching her baby?
You're trying to get me crying on this show.
I'm not trying to Barbara Walters you, but
you know,
because that woman, I feel like I wish I had known her. I see her through you.
If you know my mom, she had the biggest smile, and I feel her warmth right now. To see her baby, because I was a mama's boy. Okay. To see that her baby doing the things that I'm doing, because it's kind of deep seated in me that I'm still living and doing the things I'm doing to make her proud, even though she's not here. And so I thrive every day. And to hear my aunts and my sister and say that she would be so proud of what you're doing, it means the world.
Means the world.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop us there. The doors of the church are open. Thank you.
No, thank you. Wait 1 second. I want to make sure we take care of you.
All right, what?
Because I really appreciate you sharing your platform with us. So I wanted to share our tote bag and some goodies from Lovemore.
Oh gosh, that's great. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, with Lovemore. And so if you notice that the logo is Lovemore, but if you flip it over, it's about giving more love to the world.
Come on.
And so
I love things that are both beautiful but have meaning. Thank you for this. Thank you, Chicago and beyond, for joining us in the arena tonight. Let me leave you all with a final thought, courtesy of American author Brené Brown. Art has the power to render sorrow beautiful, make loneliness a shared experience, and transform despair into hope. Only art can take the holler of a returning soldier and turn it into a shared expression and a deep collective experience. Until next time, take good care of you and each other. Good night. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm putting on my pen right now. Thank you for this.
Oh, no, of course.